Supersport, MotoAmerica, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, our third round of the season and our second race of the weekend. And the sun is out, and we have already had red flag conditions, so we are set for a 7-lap race. Now, JP, looking at this race right now, tires have had a couple of heat cycles in them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of anyone's guess as to what kind of rubber they have underneath them, and it has nothing to do with Dunlop. It has to do really with the tire combination you chose at the beginning of the day, the heat cycles you're putting through them, and how the setup of your motorcycle is going to be.
100%. And I think that it's, you know, this is where the experience comes into play. I think for some of the people that haven't been in Supersport before, this is going to be a learning day. For those that have been experienced, they've made their best educated guesses, I guess you would say, Greg, to try to see what they can do. And you know, it's been a frustrating day a little bit, I think, for the Supersport category. But on the other hand, for us, it's going to make for a good race. And look, the conditions are 1,000 times better than they were yesterday. Our fans have been pretty loyal today, being out on those fences all day long. They've seen some good racing, and this thing here, I don't think this race is going to disappoint us at all.
No, and of course, if you're just joining us, we've actually had 2 red flags. There was an incident heading towards Canada Corner where a rider went down, and so that caused us the second red flag. So this is going to be our third start. And during the timeout, one of the things that we saw, Jay, on camera was actually David Anthony on the 25 Wrench Motorcycles bike. Him, as the rider, was also the mechanic, and he was replacing his clutch.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, that's Dave Anthony is pretty dedicated to our sport and has made, you know, like we say, a pretty big footprint in our paddock over the years, bringing his team and into this paddock. So, yeah, but the guy's not scared of getting his hands dirty at all. I mean, obviously he's pretty handy. So he drives a big semi around the country as well. He does a little bit of everything. Even in his leathers, he's changing a clutch. There he is right there on the 25, David Anthony. Really good. I think he's found a kind of home here in Supersport. He rode Superbike for a number of years. He stepped aside, you know, a year or so ago to let Bobby Fong take over that ride. That's been extremely successful for this Wrench Motorcycles team. And, you know, for Dave Anthony, he still loves to get out there and ride. And you can tell, Greg, he's, you know, qualified 10th here today. So still capable of going after these kids.
Let's take a look at those championship standings again, Jay, just to remind everybody of where we stand. And it's PJ Jacobson, who's got 16 points over Matthew Skultz. Jake Lewis on a couple podiums this season, sitting there in third place, just 1 point ahead of Blake Davis.
Yeah, really good to see Jake Lewis just putting in some really good efforts on that Altus bike. Gerardo there, you see in 5th. He's been the surprise of the year. Corey Alexander in 6th in our point standings. He's out right now, but he's hoping to be back at Brainerd. So, you know, Corey had a pretty big accident there at Barber, and we were just all fortunate that it wasn't any worse. And who's getting out of the pits there a little bit late, Greg? So
Jay, I want to make a correction really quick.
Might be Torrin Collins that just came out of the pits.
Because of the way the red flag scenario worked in this particular case, Dunlop made the decision that everybody was allowed to get new tires. So you have a sticker allocation on tires that is checked by representatives from MotoAmerica during the weekend. So in essence, they said, look, you can put a new set of tires on and we're not going to be checking stickers. And that's because of the duration of the red flag.
And I did see that is Torrin Collins that got out. And we saw Torrin there in the very back. So because of the how long our break has been and this and that, the Altus team was able to put another motor in this bike. This reminds me a little bit, Greg, of the situation we had at Daytona a million years ago when Jason DeSalvo won the 200 and we had a big 2-hour break in between there. And they've allowed Torrin Collins to, it looks like, replace whatever needed to be replaced. In this case, it might have been the motor, and there he is. The 171 is back out there right now. So really happy to see this. This young man's been racing over in Europe for a number of years. Had a really good ride last year at COTA on a Supersport bike, and has come full-time this year in our Supersport category along with Altus.
It's a good opportunity for these riders to get a good look with the sun peeking out through the cloud cover in Supersport race number 2. A shortened race to 7 laps is what we're expecting after a couple red flags. So we'll get this thing going as we look at PJ Jacobson on his cool down lap after a big win in the rain We've got a dry one on deck for you coming up.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
A reminder of the starting grid. It's a full starting grid. So as we take a look, it is Maxi Girardo, Skultz, and Ty Scott.
And then Jacobsen, Mesa, and Hobbs on row 2. Back a little bit further, Tamburini, Lewis, Davis, Anthony, Torin Collins. We'll see where he's starting. Kayla Yakov there. Max Van, Linares, Nassani, Owen Williams, Soltis, and Enriquez. Bickneys, Rivera, LaRoche, Grigg, Farrell, and Erstein. And a little further back, Davis, Jansen, Horney, DeLeon, Vandal, and Seathaler. On our last couple rows, Greg, Ullman, Booth, Gorman, and Brian Mullins. So we're ready to go. Red flag has been cleared at the front. Let's get a good clean start. The sun is out, Greg.
Here we go, 7 laps. And this restarted race number 2 for Supersport. And boy, Matthew Skultz got a horrible start as the bike started to go up and down. But the 161 of Maxi Girardo on the Top Pro Racing GSXR 750 leads us from the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. That's the number 70 of Ty Scott, and there is the 15 right there in the mix. And look at the ground that Matthew Skultz is able to make up. Oh, up and out of the saddle. That was a moment already for the number 11.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I saw Ivan Rivera there had his arm up, Greg. He looked like he had a problem off the start, just so people know who that was. Ty Scott is going to lead PJ Jacobsen, or try to lead him down here into turn 6. PJ trying to turn it up underneath him, get that bike sideways. Ooh. Doesn't quite get there. The other guy that we've seen is getting another little break here. If you remember, Teague Hobbs earlier ran wide there in turn number 5, so this is going to give him a little bit of a reprieve, as you see him just behind Jake Lewis back there in 6th or 7th spot. So as they start charging down from turn 7 down to 8, you don't see it on TV, but this is really downhill coming down into turn 8.
Roberto Tamburini on the MV, a little bit further back than he was the first couple starts. He's buried back there. He's got some work to do. In our first start, he had the fastest lap of the race for that short part. But as we go through the carousel, some different line choices, trying to find some speed. But the 161, Maxi Girardo looking good, and Skultz looking a little bit frantic.
That looked like it could have got pretty close between those two guys. Matthew made the pass. PJ gets kind of bucked up out of his seat there, coming out of that chicane. So Matthew is doing what he did earlier. He's trying to get himself to the front, and then he can kind of dictate a little bit of what he wants to do. But for right now, we have 2 GSXR 750s out front, as Mesa now has a look down the inside of PJ. Wasn't going to be able to make it. And then you can see here, Teague Hobbs has got himself to the front of that next group.
Onto the front straightaway, they'll be coming in a moment. And by the way, betting is now available for MotoAmerica fans. Go to nxtbets.com/playma. For more information, visit MotoAmerica.com. All right, so now we'll see Girardo on the GSXR 750. He's got people drafting 4 behind him if they're going to be able to close that gap. Mesa losing a little bit coming up the hill. So the gap is closed, but Girardo is still going to lead into turn number 1, as it looked like for a moment that Skultz might have had a notion, but there were too much distance between himself and Ty Scott.
Almost looked like PJ had pulled up alongside of him, and Skultz just let the lever off when they went into turn number 1. You can see that group behind Greg. They're battling pretty hard with each other. Jake Lewis and Teague Hobbs battling pretty hard back there. That's why that gap has been created. So they're going to have to work a little bit better now to try to catch up. Dave Anthony is also in that group. Dave came across the line in 7th. So is Hobbs, Anthony, Jake Lewis, Tamburini, and Blake Davis rounding out your top 10, with Kayla just behind them. So that group's going to have to organize themselves a little if they think that they're going to have any chance of getting back with this front 5. And for Girardo, we saw him do this a lot at Barber, didn't we, Greg? We saw him lead a number of laps at Barber, and look how fast he is all through kind of the infield section here at Road America. Really tidy, really fast, and Skultz is going to have a go at Ty Scott. here's that battle we were talking about a little bit behind these guys. Got Teague Hobbs, Dave Anthony, Blake Davis has now moved past Lewis. Tamburini just in behind.
Matthew Skoltz, Track Racing Yamaha R6. The meat of a sandwich of a couple of next generation Suzuki GSXR 750s. And then you have that Ducati V2. Sitting back there, Ray Hall Ducati Moto with the expel of PJ Jacobsen. He's the number 15. And Jay, impressive right now from Uruguay's Maxi Gerardo. I mean, he's not even letting anybody get near him for the draft.
No, he looks really clean, and tidy up at the front as Dave Anthony now takes a shot at Teague Hobbs as they go down into Canada corner. So again, you have a trio of GSXR 750s with a MV Agusta just behind. See, Matthew's able to bridge this gap. Matthew's the only one able to bridge the gap back to Gerardo, because see how much he pulls away? Ty Scott just isn't quite capable of going with them through the infield sections of the track. But now Ty Scott's going to get in behind the bubble of that number 70 Suzuki, and he's going to try to pull PJ Jacobsen and Stefano Mesa along back up to those guys. The group behind are doing it at the same time as Matthew Skoltz is able to draft past that GSXR 750,
wow,
Greg, and put himself in a spot to outbreak him into one, and that's exactly what he did.
He got such a drive, and Gerardo's going to go back up the inside. No, Skoltz has just got too much roll speed through turn number 3 for anybody to attack him there. Another opportunity, though, as Gerardo is going to get in the draft of the 6-foot-tall Matthew Skoltz, as Skoltz has a look over and sees, okay.
Matthew's going to have a go right off the bat into 5. And this is going to be worrisome for the guys behind, especially like PJ Jacobsen, who he knows he's battling this guy at the front now for the championship. Because Matthew, I think if he gets through this infield pretty clean, he's going to have a gap by the time they come out onto that front straightaway. And Greg, the Yamaha has proven to not be slow. So it gets through all this infield section really nice. And we'll see what these lap times do this time by.
In the draft, Skoltz was able to pull off a 159 mile an hour top speed and do a 2:17.646. Fastest lap of the race so far. Our speed trap on the front straightaway just past start finish line. So there's still a little bit more speed in these bikes than we see in our speed trap, because they actually still are accelerating past our speed trap before they roll out. But that's a good indication to us. Where Stefano Mesa on a Kawasaki back there in 5th place, 164.1. Let's check in with Hannah Lopa.
If you caught the original start of this race scheduled for earlier today on MotoAmerica Live Plus, it was ended and postponed due to a red flag, a crash in turn 12 from Alfonso Linares. They did take him to the medical center to evaluate him. He's only got a concussion. No major injuries to report other than that. They will be observing him overnight, but otherwise he is on the road to recovery, and we'll see him back on a bike real soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that information.
That is such a good report, Hannah. Thanks for checking on that, because we've all been wondering how Linares has been doing. So it's good to know that, Greg, that he's going to be okay. Now, Gerardo, to me, is the only one that could get through the carousel and things with that lead rider, Matthew Skoltz. So Linares should be able to draft past that R6 down this front straightaway, Greg, as you can really feel yourself pulling up into the draft behind somebody at this stage. So let's see, Linares is pulling out of the draft now.
Gerardo.
Oh, sorry, Gerardo. Yeah, sorry, I said Linares. But yeah, Gerardo pulls out of the draft, gets in there a little bit deep.
Yeah, he was side by side with Skoltz and really didn't have anywhere to go. Boy, that Yamaha R6 is fast.
It is fast, yeah. Matthew has he gets tucked in behind that bubble and gets his arms and legs in. But
because look, Jay, it's one thing as the rider to get a drive out of the corner and get good acceleration through half the straightaway, but it's that top end speed that really makes the difference. And even with Skoltz being 6 feet tall, he's able to hold off the advances of the riders behind him.
Oh, look at this.
Look at this sideways.
Taking a shot. Wow.
A little bit of chatter from the front going down there.
And it's like you're pulling that lever on harder and harder and harder. He wanted to take a shot at Matthew down there, and hopefully, the great thing is he's able to close that gap back up. Gerardo is. Wait till you see them go down through the chicane. And it's really bringing the other guys back as well. Ty Scott, PJ Jacobsen, Mesa all there. About 3.5 laps to go in this race. See Matthews pulled out, but then Gerardo does a really nice job down through here. Look at that bike that Gerardo's on. He's able to stay real tight, as is Ty Scott. PJ just hasn't been able to do much with Ty Scott just yet. Looks like he's lining himself up to try to get underneath him going into the chicane. Can't quite get there.
And these bikes are pretty evenly matched, and this is what next generation Supersport racing is all about. A variety of engine sizes, and the next generation bikes are controlled with electronics to basically make this a performance even playing field. Of course, you have teams, you have riders that can make the difference, especially the rider crew chief combination. And Matthew Skoltz on this track racing entry has his old crew chief from back in the Westby Superbike days. So no gap or lack of communication and understanding between those two. And they've really done a great job of getting Matthew up to speed on this Yamaha R6.
Man, and you're right though, Greg. It is fast. I know he's really good out of that last corner. He's going to hug alongside the wall. And what this does is it gives your competitors behind you really only one way to go, and that's the long way around down the left side. So Gerardo isn't going to be close enough this time. Is Ty Scott close enough to get past Gerardo? He is not. So we're still the same 5, 2:17.8, 2:17.9, 17.7 for PJ. So all the front runners, first 5 are all in the 17s. Next couple guys are all in the 18s.
And Skoltz is so good on the brakes and so much roll speed. And then you add to that how early he's able to get on the gas. Here's another opportunity for Gerardo if there's enough racetrack for him to actually get in this draft. You can see shifting up through the gears. There's the pass. But they've been side by side down here before, and Skoltz has been the one who won the braking duel. But this time it's going to be Gerardo, sends it sideways, and he'll take over the lead once again. And we hear number 12, Enriquez, has crashed out of this one.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing. So that's got to, a little bit up out of the seat there. So it's got to be a little bit concerning for Matthew, because Gerardo's the only one that's been able to show that he can get with him on the brakes down into turn 5. So we'll see now as they get down through here and see what their lap times do, and if the Gerardo now has gone fastest first 2 splits, Greg. So he's on a good lap for himself here. See what that third split does when it pops up. And Ty Scott still sitting there, which is good. He's being able to watch these two guys kind of battle in front of him.
And Gerardo had a good opportunity to look at Matthew Skoltz's strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
And so maybe he said, I got it, and I'm going to try to pull the pin. But that time he sends it sideways, but it didn't really affect his drive.
Nope, he got the thing still up off the edge of the tire, and was able to control that slide pretty nicely. Now Matthew's going to have some problems with Ty Scott, I think, down that straightaway, but we'll see. Like I said, see how much he pulls away there? Matthew's just able to just edge out. So maybe Ty doesn't quite have the edge grip that he would like to have as Matthew pulls up to the back. And you're going to see here, Gerardo gets that bike loose, and then he kind of just gets it straight upright. Turns it kind of almost into a wheelie, didn't he, Greg? And then got out of there. But see the gap that those two pull coming up the hill from Canada Corner? That's a pretty big gap. And that wouldn't be a big enough gap for those guys to make up if this was the last lap. We've got 2 to go this time by.
Yeah, that sector 4 definitely is going to make the difference. Now, we've seen Skoltz draft and pass before, and he kind of sits
That time he sat up a little bit. So.
Interesting.
And there's PJ. So now PJ's decided, all right, I gotta go try to do something now myself. He's able to draft Ty Scott down that front straightaway. He will get a double draft off the 2 in front of him, and I think PJ's got a little bit more roll speed through the middle of the corners. You can see he even pulls away from Ty Scott through the middle of that turn. Mesa has a look over his shoulder. He's been kind of just sitting back there, and he realizes he's got nobody behind him, but Matthew just sitting up right now. That's all it's doing is playing into the hands of PJ Jacobson now. I almost feel like for Matthew it would have been better for him to try to go past and then push it through the infield again.
I know, but he's got a plan.
Yep, he definitely does.
My guess is he's going to go try to attack in the chicane because he's so fast through from the chicane to start finish line. Yeah. But he definitely formulated a plan last lap, and so let's see how it all plays out for Matthew Skoltz, because the one wild card in all of this is PJ Jacobson. If he gets up underneath the inside and takes over position, it might foil the plan.
That's great point, Greg, because what it's done is it's just brought PJ kind of back into it. Matthew hasn't been attacked from the back from anybody other than Gerardo, so he's going to be looking at his pit board, but the next time he comes by, when he goes into the white flag lap, it's not going to say plus 0.5 or plus 1. It's going to say plus 0. And this is the thing is Matthew's going to be fighting experience against experience here, because he's got a lot of that, but so does the guy right behind him now.
What is Matthew Skoltz's plan? Where is he going to attack? It's not Canada Corner as they're heading to the white flag. This is another dress rehearsal to see where Gerardo's strong and where Schultz is strong.
My thought would be that Matthew is going to try to get close enough going down into turn 5 to make the pass and then get a good run through the infield. But if PJ goes by him, Greg, like you said, that could just take that whole plan a little bit out the window, because now PJ's definitely close enough. He's going to double draft, but he's going to have a double bike draft down this straightaway now.
PJ Jacobsen, your championship points leader on that number 15. Ray Hall Ducati Moto with expel. White flag is out there, 3 wide. Schultz gets by. So does PJ Jacobsen. And PJ's trying to lean on Schultz, but he doesn't have position. So Matthew goes by in turn number 1. Gerardo trying to find some room up the inside. He's going to put PJ back to 3rd. And Schultz is leading the way. And now Matthew Schultz is going to try to use that corner speed and acceleration of his R6 to scoot away. But he's got 3 bikes behind him that can draft off of him.
That's the problem right now. PJ almost gets in the back of Gerardo, but PJ wants to be second. He wants to be able to be second right there. And you can see now Ty Scott gets up underneath Gerardo as well. So PJ's in the spot he wants to be in right this very second. I think he feels he can draft Matthew coming across the line. So we'll see if PJ takes a shot. He'll have known by now if he thinks he has the bike underneath him to draft past that R6. If PJ doesn't take a shot down here into turn 8 or the chicane, that's a little bit of a tell to me that he thinks that he can do the job once they get out of that last corner. But if the pace gets slowed down too much, that number 70 is also close enough as well.
He certainly is, although he did lose a little bit of time when he had to make that pass on Gerardo, was Ty Scott. So he's trying to make up a couple bike lengths, because you really got to be glued to the rear tire in order to make this move work. So Matthew Schultz doing the work. He feels like he can win it from the front. This is an important section because Schultz has been super fast from this point on until the final corner. PJ's got a lot of work to do. And not a lot of dress rehearsals for PJ.
No, he's just wants to sit there. And I think for Ty Scott, Ty has got to clean this turn right here as good as he can. As PJ looks like he's going to take a shot. He does. He takes a shot and gets it through on Matthew Schultz as they come out of turn, the Canada corner up to turn 13. Let's see if Matthew decides to try to get it and stuff it back up underneath him into the last corner and try to block. Nope, he's not able to do that. So now Greg, who's got the horsepower? That number 70 is sitting pretty good.
PJ spinning it up onto the front straightaway. Schultz in the draft, as is Ty Scott. Here they come to the line. They're cresting the hill. It's anybody's guess to the line, and it's 3 wide. It's got to be Ty Scott. Ty Scott comes from 3rd in a perfect drafted pass maneuver. On our timing and scoring screens, though, it shows Matthew Schultz right now, but it's going to be a photo finish. It has PJ Jacobsen, .009 in 3rd.
Look at this finish, Greg. Look at this finish, and you can tell. I think it is. Oh, wow. I don't even know.
I don't know.
I can't.
Where's the line? Is it? I think
not
the
want to be the one to call that one at all. Don't want to be the one to call it.
It should be the leading edge line of that paint mark. So I think it's going to go to Ty Scott. But we're going to wait to find out for sure, because our timing and scoring screens, as they look at it, they're going to look at that photo finish. Let's take a look and see if we can see a freeze of it. Jay, like I said, I think here it's the leading edge. It's not going to, if it was the middle, then obviously I mean, that's a tie to me. That's crazy.
I'm going to let you run with this one. I'm not, I think it's just too hard to tell, man. That is a hard one.
So they're giving it, looks like they're giving it to Matthew Schultz. So Matthew Schultz is going to take victory over Ty Scott in a 0 margin game, and PJ Jacobsen will be 3rd, .009 of a second.
Matthew is almost riding around right now like he's a little angry. You know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe not. Maybe he's realizing now. Who knows? But
I mean, closest finish in the history.
That has to be the closest finish in the history of MotoAmerica, period, right there, without even any thought. All 3 of those guys rode amazing, as did Gerardo, as did Mesa.
Gerardo, 0.3 seconds behind. And they have reversed that order. It is Ty Scott. As I had looked at before, it's going to be Ty Scott who takes victory over Matthew Schultz. They're going to give it to him by .001 of a second. But it's really a dead even race. And I think, Jason, it's because it's the leading edge of that paint.
I want to agree with you. I'm just too scared to because
let's go back to the replay and take a look.
Hard.
All right, so
to
if we
tell.
can get our crew to stop at the very leading edge of that paint,
well, then
and you can see from our perspective, it's like, frame-wise, again, in the United States, we're at 30 frames per second. That's how fast they're going. That is one frame, 1/30th of a second covers that much distance.
It does look like Ty Scott to me. So
now that's our perspective.
But that's just
Jay.
our perspective.
Right.
That does not mean anything official, and almost too scared to even make a comment on it.
So timing and scoring actually has a high-speed still camera that they have available, and so that's going to give them a much clearer picture of the exact spot where the timing loop is for the start-finish line.
What a way to end a weekend.
And so we're going to go off of what they say, and they say Ty Scott takes a monumental victory for the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team. In the battle in the championship between Skultz and PJ Jacobsen, though, Matthew Skultz will get back 4 points. We're going to talk to Ty Scott and the rest of them when we get back.
As coverage continues now here at Road America, what an exciting finish, Roger. And as we heard Greg and Jason say, timing and scoring does have a high-speed camera that would have given them a better shot at that finish.
Yeah, and they, just with all the cameras they have, they're able to get on there and see who won. And what a great race by all three of those guys and Tyler Scott. That's a great result for the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team. They've had a rough year in all classes, and it's been a start that you couldn't even imagine for that team to come out here, and even for Tyler as well, to come out and get a win. They've earned that. They deserve it. Matthew Skultz rode a great race as well, and you can't take nothing away from PJ. The Yamaha, we talked before the show, that little bit down on top speed, and with the gave them some more power recently, and they were able to. It looked dead even to me, and you just go and look at the next gen rules. Suzuki, Yamaha, Ducati, Suzuki, Kawasaki, MV. That's what you want, parity, and all those different brands in the top 6.
Yeah, the parity certainly exists. It was PJ Jacobsen, though, if you look at best lap of the race, that 2:16.8 that PJ was able to do. So, the Ducati is fast also, but to your point, we can no longer say that the Yamaha is lacking speed.
Exactly, and to be able to even make that draft and pull out, I honestly didn't think that would have been possible. And also because Matt's tall. He's a tall guy. Man, what a race. A lot of good races this weekend, and that could have went down to any three of those guys. And Max Girardo, you can't take nothing away from him. He was with that lead group all the way till the last lap and a half, and I think he'll figure it out. Toward the end of these races, when you're going to race guys like Tyler Scott, Matt, and PJ, you have to get those elbows out that last lap and a half, and do not give those guys an inch, because if you do, they're going to take it and then some.
It's also a great result for Stefano Mesa being able to finish inside of the top 5. We've seen the struggles that he has faced throughout this season with some extra weight aboard the Kawasaki. They're still trying to figure out how to balance it.
Yeah, and for Stefano, only a second and a half. A little over a second and a half from the win. So it's just a great start for him to be able to see the leaders. He hasn't seen the leaders this year in one of these races, so it's one of those good races. He's able to kind of get his season going, hopefully they figure some things out that he can continue to be there toward the front.
And then Roberto Tamburini, not out yesterday, being able to come back and finish strong inside of the top 6.
Yeah, that's a great finish. That big crash they had yesterday morning in that qualifier, missing the first race in the wet, really unfortunate. And they had a lot of work to do. I know they worked hard getting the bike back out there, and they did a great job. And the top 6 for him is a really good finish.
Also need to give a shout out to Dunlop. I know it was probably a lot of work to remount race tires for all of these Supersport riders, but they were given the option of switching to new tires for this race. Nobody changed their compound, but it was still the work that went into getting that done. We're going to send it back over to Greg and Jason.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Well, look, if you're a fan of close racing, you found your mecca, because I don't even think it was .001, but that's what we're going to give Ty Scott over Matthew Skultz. And that leading edge, PJ Jacobsen right there as well, 100th of a second behind. pretty incredible stuff as Gerardo, 0.3 of a second will get you 4th place with Mesa 1.8 back. And Roberto Tamburini having a good run in 6th. And Jason, we're looking at what? A bunch of manufacturers in the top 6. Pretty impressive. Let's get down to Hannah in the winner's circle.
Incredibly close finish for Ty Scott. It's his first podium of the season, and it's a victory. Ty, take us through your mindset. What are you thinking out there when there's 4 bikes and you're coming across the line just hoping that you pull it off?
Yeah, and it was a great race today, and honestly, it started off pretty good too earlier in the first segment of the race. Unfortunately, it was postponed. I hope the riders are all right, but the plan going into this weekend was just stay in the pack and fight for the battle at the end. We tried to lead races earlier in the season. It didn't quite work out in our favor, but so that was the plan. So I was really comfortable throughout the whole race until the last 2-3 laps, and was just trying to get as many passes in that I could. And thank you to the whole Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki team for preparing a beautiful machine this weekend, beautiful machine all season, honestly, and it's worked absolutely beautiful, and I can't thank those guys enough. My dad, my mom, everyone that helps out, Davey, Barry, Dustin, everyone on the team is just an incredible part. Chloe, the bike handled beautifully.
If you could expand on just your comfort on the bike and the work that the team has put in, how has it evolved throughout the weekend, and did you make any changes in the time between the original race and this afternoon's actual race?
No, the only thing that we were able to change was tires, as was everyone, and we just wanted to create a bike this weekend that was really easy to race with, not necessarily put the fastest time in, but it definitely paid off.
The next round is just around the corner for you. Does this kind of inspire confidence for you heading into that round? What steps can you take in this 2-week break in order to continue this momentum?
I think as a team we have a really better foundation now and a plan going into each weekend to get more points, win more races, and be on the podium.
Are you feeling a little bit more comfortable on the whole? This is a team that you were already with in seasons past, and you've got a good relationship with them. Talk a little bit about what the dynamic under the canopy is like on any given race weekend.
Year to year, the crew chief has changed, but everyone else has stayed the same, and I'm really comfortable with my team, and I'm really confident in them. We had some bad luck in the first part of the season, but it looks like we've washed that away for now.
Big congratulations to Tyler Scott, today's race winner for your Supersport class, guys.
Jay, I like everything that he's saying.
100%, yeah.
You know, you're looking at a rider who's maturing, definitely. And, you know, you have to do that, obviously, when you trip and you fall and you pick yourself up and you learn from it. And that seems like what we got right here. And this guy could be a weapon for the rest of the year. Let's get down to Hannah.
Second place today. Let's talk a little bit about your team dynamic to start off. You came into this team, it was already established. You brought yourself and your crew chief. I don't know what your expectations were heading into this season. Maybe you could elaborate on that. Were you expecting to just be so consistently finishing on this podium?
Yeah, definitely. I think moving down from the Superbike class, you kind of have to be running up front in the Supersport. Just a big thank you to the Strack Racing team. I think that this little R6 held up well against the V2 and the 750 next to me. I got to the front on maybe lap 3, and I tried to put 2 laps in hard and break them, but you know, the slipstream plays such a massive deal here, and I kind of started sitting up and letting the guys pass me then, and not to get to the front so I could sit, and I think it was Maxi's slipstream. Breaking into Canada corner on the final lap, I broke a little bit early, and I wanted one guy to pass me, and PJ did, and I thought I worked it out perfectly. You know, I gave PJ a little bit of a gap into the final corner, drove up onto him, and you know, once I started slipping him coming up the hill, I thought that we definitely had it, and then coming across the line, Tyler got me there, but this R6 is just turning beautifully. You know, I think that when we get to the tighter twisted tracks, it's going to suit us more. But overall, you know, well done to Tyler. Timed that perfectly. PJ is riding, you know, great, like what he always does, and looking forward to the dogfights for the rest of the season.
Flying the flag out there for Yamaha on the R6. I know there are some challenges on any motorcycle, but what are some of the strengths, whether it's motorcycle or rider-wise, that you really had to kind of dig deep for to pull this off?
I think that the entry on this bike is definitely the best. We lose a bit on coming out. You know, these guys have a little bit more CCs on us, but the R6 handles are the best out there. You know, so I think when we get to the tighter twisted track, it's going to suit us more. But to get 2 second places here, I'm really happy, and I think that gives us confidence for the rest of the season.
Heading into Brainerd, no laps on the Supersport bike, even though it's a track that you're familiar with. So what does the team need to do to prepare in this 2-week break in order to set you up on the right foot heading into the weekend?
I'm not really sure. The bike's handling great. I think when we get to Friday practice and head out on track, we'll kind of see how the bike's doing there. But overall, I think we've made some pretty major steps forward on this bike, and just got to carry on working and getting this thing better, and and just fight for the championship lead. That's the main goal for us.
Chipping away at the points there is Matthew Skoltz with 2 podiums on the weekend, guys.
Yeah, he certainly is. And when Matthew came into the weekend, or came into this race, JP, he was 16 back. And so now it's going to be 4 points that he claws back from PJ because he was able to hold him off by 9 thousandths of a second. And Hannah's with PJ right now.
And for PJ Jacobsen, he hasn't finished off of the podium all season, which is really crucial to score as many points as possible on any given race weekend. How are you feeling about this performance and coming away with 3rd place points?
Yeah, I was pretty nervous for this race actually today because I knew how fast the other bikes were going to be, so it was kind of going to be hard. And it was a difficult race, and I knew it was going to be like a dogfight in the whole race. So I kind of was set in 4th position for most of that race, and then I knew when I saw Matthew kind of like going to the front and maybe like getting away with Gerardo, I had to pass Tyler and try to get with those guys if there was a slipstream or a draft. So then I also tried to slipstream them on the front straightaway, both of them, but I was braking so late into turn 1, so it was like very difficult. But I also saw Matthew like sitting up going into turn 5, so that's good that he was able to do that. But yeah, it was difficult, and I was just trying to stay really late on the brakes. But Tyler rode a great race, and congratulations for him and the team and stuff for getting their win. But yeah, it's good. If a 3rd is our bad day, then I'll definitely take it. But thanks to the whole Rahal Ducati team, they've been doing a great job. Expel, Elf, everybody a part of this whole program has been doing good.
What can you tell us about your setup that allows you to be so confident so late on those brakes?
Yeah, I just didn't really have a choice, to be honest, I just had to keep going late on the brakes and just, maximum on the front. So I passed Schultz in the corner with like 3 corners to go, so I knew that I couldn't draft him at the line. There was no way I was going to draft anybody. So my only thing was just to get out there and just hope for the best and just like close my eyes at the finish line here. And obviously that's what happened. So yeah, 3rd position is what we got, and that's how it is.
With the race being postponed to this afternoon, there's a lot of time there to sit and think. Take us through what you were doing and what was going on. Does it make you more nervous, or are you happy to have a little bit more time to regroup?
Yeah, it probably made me a little bit more nervous because I already knew what was going to happen in the first race with everybody being so involved with this big group and everything. So, I mean, I guess, that comes to MotoAmerica sometimes in the 600 class too. So, yeah, it just gave me some more time to really think about how many more people were going to be involved in this second race of a group. So yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think that I rode as best I possibly could today. So the team gave me a great bike, and yeah, we'll move on to Brainerd where I'm pretty strong, and I like that place. So
great performance by PJ Jacobsen and some incredible racing all around today, guys.
It was incredible, and that is a good point. You had quite a bit of time to think about it. But,
yeah.
Jay, I mentioned that MotoAmerica Timing and Scoring has a photo finish system that's set up. And I believe we have an opportunity to see what the photo finish actually looks like.
Wow.
And there it is.
Incredible.
So
huh?
that's the leading edge of that paint stripe that you see. And that's the margin of victory.
So wild. Yeah, I mean, that's what a finish that is. What a great shot that is. And, they got it right. So Ty Scott wins by, well, you see it, nothing.
I don't know. I mean, you can't even call that like a sidewall width.
Yeah, no,
pretty incredible.
That's crazy finish.
And the riders now get to celebrate as Ty Scott, his first podium of the season, nets him a 1st place and a big W. Our coverage continues for Supersport Road America in a minute.
We'll continue watching the podium celebration here on MotoAmerica Live Plus for the final race of the weekend, Supersport Race number 2 here. And Roger, we saw that photo that was just put up on the screen that Race Control was able to get from the high-speed cameras, and it was just nothing.
Yeah, it was just honestly all 3 of them just as close as they were, and able to have that camera is a big help. And Tyler, I liked what he said in his interview. He was talking about that he's tried to lead from the front from the races, and he's crashed out. And now he just wants to, this weekend was just going to stay in the pack. I think a lot of that goes into knowing that the draft and the slipstream is going to keep everybody together, so there's no point to try to break the draft, especially as strong as Tyler is, and also his bike. He's got a really good bike, and he played that perfectly. But that's a good plan to come in, and it shows you the experience of that crew to be able to come in and set up a really good plan for that young rider. And he's going to have to, kind of rebuild his confidence a little bit. He's had some really big crashes in these races this year, from the lead and trying to check out. So when you get in the lead and you start asking yourself, how hard do I push? I don't want to crash again. So Tyler could easily go on a run from here.
Yeah, he could, and he mentioned that in the interview they have a new plan that he really just needs a bike that's easy to race with. He doesn't need a bike that's the fastest.
And that's the thing in practice and qualifying, just going out and putting in a ton of laps and working on that race pace and being able to do that, and not just going out and doing one lap and slowing down. So, Tyler's young. He's so young. We forget how young he is, and he's an amazing talent, not even on the road race bike, but flat track as well.
We got one more.
It's been a great weekend of racing all around here at Road America. Through the rain yesterday as well as the sunshine today. Before we step away, just a big thank you to everyone on the MotoAmerica team, everyone over in the television compound who's worked tirelessly all weekend to make sure that we were able to bring you all of the coverage throughout the qualifying sessions in each of the races over the last couple of days. It's been great to be able to bring it to you here live on MotoAmerica Live Plus. The next time we'll see you will be for the preview show that'll be at Brainerd International Raceway. We're going to send it back over to Greg and Jason to wrap up everything, but Roger Hayden, myself, Jamie Howe, we'll talk to you in just a couple of weeks.
Back at Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, as race 2 for Supersport is done and dusted. But of note, of the top 6 riders in this category, there are 5 different motorcycle manufacturers, and one of them, MV Agusta rider, is with Hannah right now.
And for Roberto Tamburini, it's been quite an up and down weekend. Roberto, you had a big crash yesterday. The bike was left in various states of disarray. Tell us how your team was able to get it back together for you to race your way to 6th place today.
Yeah, yesterday I had a huge crash. Another rider hit me from behind. So in the first corner, the crash was so big. Also, me, fortunately, in general, I am good, but apart the ankle, I think no broken, but a huge hit, so not so at 100%. But and also apart of me, the bike was not so good. This night, yesterday until this night, my team rebuilt it. They did an amazing job to permit me to race today. But of course, we are quite fast in this track. Maybe the start with our bike is not so good, no? So I lost maybe 1-2 positions at least in the start. But at the end, I tried to recover. It's not so easy because I was in a group with a fast guy. Which, of course, each rider have a weak point and a strong point. So maybe we need to improve in some part to be more competitive yet. But considering yesterday, we did, in general, in my opinion, a very good job.
Finishing solidly inside the top 10 this season. All of these tracks are new to you. You've never seen them before. This is your rookie season in the class. Looking ahead to Brainerd, what do you do before the weekend, before you see the track, in order to prepare and try to learn the layout?
Yeah, for me, all the track will be new, so it's not so easy to start each weekend from zero because apart the track, the bike is new also. So I prepare myself watching the race on MotoAmerica Live Plus to try to understand better the track. Of course, it's not so easy because we have free practice and then there is the first race. So the time is short for me and the team is not so easy, but step by step we are improving and closing the gap from the front guy. So yeah, we did a good job and we'll see in the next race.
A great job by Roberto Tamburini, really trying to make a name for himself in the MotoAmerica series, guys.
He certainly is. And there's even more to the story than what he's telling. Of course, you know, he's used to riding a different brand tire. And as we look at this photo finish again, Tamburini's still getting used to those Dunlop tires as well. And they search for a baseline setting in MV's first full season. And Jay, I mean, I don't even remember seeing anything that close. That is incredible.
That's really great, and it's good to see another team winning. As you see John Orich coming into the podium there to celebrate with his rider. We're going to get a look at the point standings race. P.J. Jacobson obviously still leading. 12 points, really a two-horse race at the moment. Blake Davis, Jake Lewis, and Gerardo are going to round out your top 5. The guy in 6th is the one we're going to see how far he can climb up.
So as we head off to Brainerd, Minnesota in less than 2 weeks' time, P.J. Jacobson takes 3rd place. Oh, that Jason Pridmore helmet, beautiful. But anyway, we enjoyed the racing. How do you like, as close as you like racing? Less, I would say 10,000ths of a second the margin of victory. We certainly enjoyed Supersport here at MotoAmerica in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in less than 2 weeks from Brainerd International Raceway for more race action.
Tyler, congratulations to him, to Chris, and of course to our 2nd and 3rd place finishers, the 2 leaders of the championship. P.J. Jacobson in 3rd, Matthew Scholz in 2nd.